At some point, you'll want to make further distinction visually between the different pieces of data that you have within your chart. Here, we've got the same color for each of the bars, but we know that the bars represent distinct donuts. So let's create a color scale and apply unique colors to each of the pieces of data. We'll head to the code, and underneath the declaration of the Y scale, we'll create the following. var linear color scale equals d3.scale.linear, and then opening and closing parentheses. So we'll create a linear scale, and this scale will create gradations of a kind of brown color. To do that, we'll create a new line. Make sure you didn't put any punctuation after this. .domain and your parentheses, .range parentheses, then a semicolon. So we're creating a scale just as we did before. And for the domain, we're going to pass in 0 in the array as the smallest value, and then the total number of indexes as the largest, data.length. And for the range, we're going to create an array, and we're going to pass in 2 hexadecimal color values. Now, I've looked these up in advance. We'll pass these as a string. So string hashtag 572500, and the second argument, a string hashtag F68026. So what we're doing is we're creating a linear scale that's continuous, that has a minimum value of 0 and a maximum value of the total number of indexes we have, that's data.length. And we're going to create a range that has a minimum value of this color, 572500, which is a kind of brown, and then smoothly transitions to this other color, which is F68026. To apply this, we need to go into our plot function. Now within the portion of the code that creates the bar, I'll place my cursor just before the semicolon, create a new line and type .style, and open and close parentheses. The argument will be fill, and the second argument will be a function, and we'll go ahead and pass D and I. So D represents the data that's bound to this element, and I the current index, and then open and close curly brackets. So again, it's important that you do not interrupt this statement with an unnecessary semicolon. That will break it. Now within the function that we just created, we want to return a value from the scale. So return linear color scale, parentheses, and the argument will be I, the current index. Because remember, we defined the linear color scale to use the indices as the domain. Head down and take a look at it one last time, save it, head to the web page and refresh, and now we have this really nice gradient transition from a kind of dark brown to an orange. Now, if we cut the number of indices or we add them, we get further gradations in this scale because it is a linear scale. But what if we want distinct color values for each of the bars that we have? When we want distinct values and we're using scales, we'll use an ordinal scale. Head back to the code, and just beneath the creation of the linear color scale, we'll create an ordinal scale. var ordinal color scale equals d3.scale dot, not ordinal, category 20 with parentheses. D3 already has some pre-baked ordinal scales for color. You can access them using category and a number. The two that I use most often are category 20, which has 20 colors, and category 10, which has 10 colors. And that's all we need to do here. We don't need to define a domain or range. Now to use it, we'll head down to the code. Let's comment out the line that we just created here at line 74, and above it, return ordinal color scale, open and close parentheses, and here we'll pass I. We access the colors by passing an index. Save it, head to the code and refresh, and now you can see we have much different, distinct, and vibrant colors for our color scale. So you can use a linear scale to create gradations of color, or you can use an ordinal scale to create distinct colors. It's important to know that colors really do help us to understand what it is we're trying to visualize when working with data.